Welcome to our University of Southampton Group Research Project. One of the biggest challenges to UK politics today is trying to overcome political disenchantment. It was Nick Clegg who once said, not voting would be like going into Nando's, not putting in an order, and then complaining if you are unhappy with what you were served. So, Demos, a think tank, asked us to investigate a potential reason why people may lose faith in the voting system. They're interested in researching just how local our MPs are. This could be in terms of geographical background, as well as their presence in their constituency.
British democracy is facing a crisis of disengagement. Voters are becoming increasingly focused on candidates' motivations for standing. Often, a key distinguishing factor is their locality. Voters want to know whether they genuinely care about the area or whether they're merely career politicians rallying to get more votes for their respective parties. It is common for parliamentary candidates to stress their local roots in order to win over voters. For instance, Lynn Brown, Labour MP for West Ham, lists the primary school she attended as proof of her local credentials and the local hospital she was born in. Truly local candidates have many advantages. They have greater understanding of how the area has developed over the years, meaning that to a large extent they know exactly what the area needs.
Our methodology was based on that of the Demos project. They based their locality on the physical aspect, so they looked at where the MPs were born, where they went to school, and where they lived 5 years prior to the beginning of the election. If they lived within 20 kilometres of these, they were defined as local. However, we decided to go with a different approach, and we decided to look at how local they were trying to be. So we looked at how many Twitter followers they had and their surgery hours. We were going to combine these two sets of data together, but unfortunately we couldn't access the first set, so we decided to focus solely on how local they were trying to be. We decided to look at 80 seats in total, 40 marginal and 40 safe seats, and then we decided to compare the two together. And we also compared across parties, so Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, and the other parties as well. All of this data that we found was available on Google, so we just researched it and then compared it together.
Safe seat MPs are distinguishable from marginal seat MPs. It's the marginal seats that put in more effort during an election campaign, because there's more of a chance of changing the MP than one where the winner is not in a lot of doubt, meaning Tories don't put in as many surgery hours per month and are seen as less local. We also found that the amount of surgery hours doesn't correlate with the amount of Twitter followers an MP has. Safe seat MPs are more widely known and thus have more followers anyway. For example, Labour MPs put in more effort but still have significantly less followers than the Tories. Looking at 2010 elections, we found that some MPs are deceased, retired, or have inactive Twitter accounts, which has led to some inconsistencies and gaps in our data.
So our data revealed that MPs holding marginal seats tend to have more Twitter followers than MPs holding safe seats. Marginal seats demand active candidates who reach out to the constituents if they are to have a chance of winning. And popular use of Twitter can be considered as an attempt by MPs to respond to UK politics becoming more local. However, it is reasonable to assume that all MPs would utilise the opportunities presented by Twitter to the same extent each to ease their workload. And also the trend that the more contestable a seat tends to have an MP with more Twitter followers leads us to propose that safe seats are safe for much deeper reasons which are not so dependent on a constituent representative relationship, but other factors such as a fundamental commitment to ideology. Further, we discovered MPs in marginal seats did spend more time in surgery, but the difference here is much more modest than the difference in the amount of Twitter followers of the two groups. Perhaps this difference is due to the acute awareness of MPs in marginal seats of the importance of offering genuine contact to their chances of maintaining that seat in the future. It is reasonable to assume that an MP in a marginal seat would offer surgery hours to build a strong connection with the locals and hearing their concerns, something considered imperative to localness as a social characteristic.
One main issue was that we needed access to previously published data along with clear and concise advice from our mentor from Demos. However, Ralph was difficult to get hold of and it took considerable time to establish contact with him. He proceeded to show us the results but was not allowed to share with us the raw data for various reasons, and therefore we had to significantly change the focus of our research. We then decided that our focus could be the use of social media and surgery hours, as this would help to understand if having a more local MP corresponds as someone who can effectively communicate with their constituency and further afield. A problem that occurred was the fact that although you would hold it as a necessity for MPs to advertise their surgery times, in many instances this was not the case. Many MPs did not display this data openly anywhere online, which meant that we needed to phone certain MPs and ascertain that information. Sometimes no one was able to pick up our calls, and indeed in some instances MPs were very reluctant to talk to someone outside their own constituency, which says something about MPs' willingness to help. In other cases, certain MPs did not have their own websites or social media pages, which made it increasingly difficult to ascertain information.
A solution of disenchantment isn't easy, and there are a plethora of factors which you could consider. Our study shows that overall localness is still an area for improvement, and that MPs need to connect to constituents a lot more in ever-increasing diverse ways. We can see differences in localness on a party-by-party basis. We also found a difference between marginal and safe seats. MPs in marginal seats tend to try and connect with constituents on social media a lot more than safe seats. Our study has brought up so many issues. Although we went beyond Demos's narrow view of localness, this variable by its nature is broader than we have discussed. The recent election distorted our findings, so doing this study again would be advisable. Obviously, a major recommendation is to increase the sample size in order to mitigate several of the problems we faced. Going further than that, we could also expand our study to assess the correlation between localness and female and ethnic minority representation. Thanks for watching.